Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we're looking at what is essentially a modern-day Trojan horse. It's an existential threat that is quietly being built by some of the biggest tech companies in the world. We are rapidly, and I mean rapidly, approaching an event that's poised to completely crumble the digital infrastructure we've spent the last 70 years building. It is a totally fascinating and honestly kind of terrifying shift in human history.
So what happens when the mathematical foundation of the entire internet just breaks? Let's dive into this. Right now, every secret you hold, every private message you send, every single bank transaction you make, it all relies on a very specific mathematical assumption. But what happens when that assumption shatters? Because it's really not a matter of if, but when. We are entirely dependent on this digital foundation, and it's actually shockingly close to its breaking point.
Experts actually have a name for this breaking point. They call it Q-Day. It's the hypothetical day when quantum computers are finally unleashed and become powerful enough to break literally every form of encryption we've ever developed. I mean, on Q-Day, secure online banking, digital privacy, encrypted messaging, it all comes to an abrupt end. And to really understand why this is happening, we've got to look at the math.
Section 1. How quantum breaks math and the collapse of RSA encryption. You see, the barrier that's protecting your data right now isn't actually secrecy. It's really just extreme mathematical complexity. Modern encryption basically works by taking two massive prime numbers and multiplying them together to get this ridiculously long number, hundreds of digits long. Figuring out what those two original prime numbers were is virtually impossible for a classical computer. Even if you networked every classical supercomputer on Earth together, it would take roughly 1 trillion years to crack standard RSA 2048 encryption. To put that into perspective, you would have to outlive the lifespan of the sun, vaporizing the Earth about 40,000 times over, just to read one encrypted message. And that is the literal security guarantee protecting your bank account today.
But here is the shock. If you give that exact same impossible problem to a sufficiently powerful quantum computer running a 1994 mathematical formula called Shor's algorithm, it doesn't take 1 trillion years. It takes hours, or potentially even minutes. The impossible just becomes trivial. And you might be wondering why. Well, it's because classical computers and quantum computers just don't process reality in the same way.
To understand the difference, just think about how our current classical computers work. They run on binary bits, ones and zeros, right? They check possibilities one by one, step by step, kind of like running through a massive maze and hitting dead ends. But a quantum computer uses qubits, and thanks to the wild rules of quantum physics, a qubit can exist in a state of superposition, meaning it can be both a 1 and a 0 at the exact same time. So it's not just running faster, it's like it's working in a higher dimension. Instead of checking a massive combination lock one number at a time, a quantum computer explores vast possibilities all at once, using interference to instantly amplify the correct answer.
Now, for decades, we all kind of thought we had plenty of time before a machine could actually run Shor's algorithm. But look at how fast this timeline is collapsing. In December 2024, Google unveiled their 105-qubit Willow chip. It solved a complex benchmark in just 5 minutes that would literally take a classical supercomputer 10 septillion years to figure out. Meanwhile, you've got Microsoft pushing new topological qubits, and China is pouring something like $15 billion into their own quantum milestones. This threat is accelerating fast, which is exactly why the US government has set a strict 2035 deadline for everyone to migrate to post-quantum security.
Section 2. Harvest now, decrypt later. The invisible threat happening today.
So this danger isn't just waiting for us somewhere down the road in the future. It is actively happening right now, completely invisibly. It's a strategy known as harvest now, decrypt later. Bad actors, intelligence agencies, they are quietly scooping up encrypted data today. We're talking dormant crypto wallets, state secrets, and incredibly detailed personal profiles built by data brokers. Sure, they can't read it today, but they are hoarding and archiving all of it because they know that on Q-Day they're going to have the master key. It's effectively Schrodinger's data, captured but just waiting to be observed.
To really put this into perspective, let's look at history. After the fall of East Germany, citizens discovered that the Stasi had collected 111 kilometers of paper files monitoring their people. It's wild. But the Stasi was ultimately limited by physical labor, paper, and typewriters. Today, modern surveillance is practically limitless. The single thing stopping total access to our digital lives is encryption. When quantum computing removes that barrier, those hard limits just vanish entirely.
Section 3. A fragmented post-digital internet. Basically, the death of the old web.
So, what actually happens when we try to fix this mess?
Well, migrating the entire internet to quantum-safe standards is a lot like trying to replace a house's foundation without evacuating the residents. It is going to be incredibly messy. The seamless internet we've all known for the last 30 years is going to fragment. Major banks, wealthy nations, they'll migrate to quantum safety first, but smaller institutions and older legacy systems, they're going to lag far behind. And since the internet relies on digital handshakes across borders, soon a connection is only going to be as secure as its weakest link. The global unified internet is going to shatter into a tiered network. You'll have these highly secure fortresses entirely surrounded by a dangerous, unencrypted wasteland.
Okay, at this point you might be feeling a little overwhelmed. I get it. It really begs the question, is quantum computing just this massive engine of destruction? Is it literally only here to break things? The fascinating answer is absolutely not.
Section 4. The Quantum Leap Forward and Solving the Impossible.
See, classical computing, for all its amazing wonders, is hitting a physical wall. Transistors are now just a few atoms wide, and at that microscopic scale, electrons stop acting predictably. They literally start tunneling through barriers. We are hitting the absolute limits of physics. But quantum computing, it doesn't resist those strange physics, it uses them to create these post-digital miracles. Because molecules operate on quantum mechanics, classical computers have to guess and use massive trial and error to create new medicine. But quantum computers will be able to perfectly simulate those molecular interactions. Industry giants like Pfizer and AstraZeneca are already gearing up to eliminate trial and error in drug discovery. We'll be able to model enzymes that pull nitrogen straight from the air at room temperature, which would completely revolutionize global agriculture. Companies like Goldman Sachs are even exploring quantum optimization for flawless supply chain and power grid logistics. We are finally going to design our physical world from first principles instead of just accidental discovery. It's a total game changer.
But, of course, all of this immense power brings us to a pretty harsh geopolitical reality. Section 5. Who controls the future? The dawn of a technological oligarchy.
The digital age has actually been wonderfully democratic. We literally put a supercomputer in the pockets of half the planet. But guys, there's going to be no such thing as a quantum laptop. Quantum hardware is incredibly fragile, impossibly expensive, and it requires extreme cooling to temperatures that are actually colder than deep space. In the post-digital age, this unfathomable computing power is going to be an oligarchy, locked behind the walls of just a few dozen elite institutions. The rest of the world, regular businesses, governments, they'll have to access it by renting time through middlemen.
Which really leaves us right here, standing in a doorway. The comfortable digital room we've lived in for the past 70 years is closing on its own. The room ahead of us, it's being built by people we don't know, using materials we barely understand, whether we step into it or not. For right now, we are all existing in a state of quantum superposition, simultaneously terrified and incredibly excited for a future we can't fully observe yet. So the real question is, are we awake enough to help shape it? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope it sparks your curiosity to learn more about the post-digital age.